Okay, we are talking about Professor Paul Ekman's question. Then what happened was that he did mention a little bit to His Holiness about his thoughts, his own thoughts. And most of you may be wondering to listen to what His Holiness's thoughts, rather than his thoughts. Okay, His Holiness thoughts. Of course, His Holiness is so expert in how the mind works, so naturally it's about the karma, the previous mind and so forth. This is a very standard answer. So what he said is very interesting. What Professor Paul Ekman said is something related to the very important Buddhist psychology. What he said was that he interviewed many of these people who do not have any religious, the sentiments or the religious attachment and so forth. So they asked him, and they said that, some of them say that, I don't know, it just happened naturally, some. Some say that, I don't have anything else to do other than jump to help. This is what I should be doing. But the point is that these are the reactions, natural reactions, spontaneous reactions coming from the people through what he learned from the interviews. Now his own thoughts on this, what he said is that this is what he told me after the interview. Then he left for the hotel, and me and my two friends were also having a meeting with him, Professor Paul Ekman, in his hotel. So I deliberately introduced two of my friends to him. Well, they're young psychologists. They were so happy to meet such greatly renowned psychologist in the world. So he was so kind. In fact, the two of us, how can I say, more like friends. Then he's so happy. So he's so kind to me in ways of talking to them very positively about psychology and so forth. So he told this to them, saying that this is a question which he had been working on for the last 50 years. 50 years. And he said that, now the answer is very simple. That the person who jumped spontaneously, what happens is jumping, who said it? Regina. Right? Jumping, not jumping. Jumping gives a more pleasant feeling in him. Thinking of jumping, not jumping, very fast. Is not as the Lin Chu rightly said, that is not something active cognitive process, right? Or should I jump, not jump? It's not. It's very fast process happening, although it is cognitive. All this cognitive, still is cognitive, but not cognitive in the ways of calculated cognitive. So what he said is that there's a very pleasant feeling coming in him, thinking of jumping, and unpleasant coming in, thinking of running away. It's a very fast process, so he jumped. So the answer is, the pleasant feeling inside drives a person to jump into the fire. Right? This is what he said. And then he's so confident, he said that, believe it or not, just to get this answer, it took me 50 years. It is not easy. For example, Albert Einstein, he talked about E equals MC square. It took him how many years? And nowadays, what's the English phrase? Dick and Tom? Huh? Tom, Dick, and Harry knows E equals MC square, right? Tom, Dick, and Harry. Everyone knows E equals MC square. But Albert Einstein, imagine how many years, how many mathematical calculations, derivatives be involved for him to come to this conclusion, E equals MC square. Now talk to Harry, everybody knows it, right? So likewise, that it took him 50 years to come to this. It's amazing. Okay. What is said now, I'm going to share with you what is known as the Nalanda Buddhist psychology, which happened 1,000 years ago. Okay, let's see. His deduction is already set by the great Nalanda masters. Okay, so in the study of the Buddhist psychology, there's mention of what is known as the 5 omnipresent mental factors. In other words, 5 ever-present mental factors. Omni, if I use this word, it becomes really religious. Okay, 5 ever-present mental factors, which means every mind, every phenomenon of the mind, where you find a phenomenon of mind, these 5 functions are operating with the mind. These 5 functions are operating in the mind. What are these 5 functions? Okay, most of you know that. What are they? Intention, contact, discrimination, feeling, attention. Okay, so there are 5. There are 5. Usually the order is a little different. I put it slightly differently for us to remember it very easily. Right? I put it slightly different from the way it is put in the standard books. So contact. 1, contact. Number 2, attention. Contact, attention, discrimination, feeling, intention. Once you know the relationship, the links amongst these 5, then it's very easy for you to remember what these 5 are. Okay, let's say that a young child, it is his or her birthday, and the early morning she was sleeping, and her favorite thing is cheesecake. And the mother, early morning, mother brings the cheesecake to the daughter, the young girl, age 5 or 6. And because she is into deep sleep, she wakes up, eyes are still very hazy. So what she does, and the mother brings something, otherwise the mother pats her. So now today the mother is holding something. So what happens? What the mother is holding, cheesecake, and her eyes come in contact. So first is contact. Eye consciousness comes in contact with the object. Then what happens? Because her eyes are hazy, what will she do? Hey, the girls, what will you do? You'll pay attention to this. What is this? You'll pay attention. Number 2 is attention. Paying attention, then what happens? Oh, this is cheesecake. You recognize this as a cheesecake. Discrimination. Then what happens? The moment you realize that this is cheesecake, right? A very pleasant feeling will come in you. This pleasant feeling will make you to go towards the cheesecake. That's the intention to have it. This pleasant feeling will make you to trigger inside the intention to possess it. So this pleasant feeling will make your mind to move towards the object. That is what wanted. I wanted. So that want, intention to have it. That intention, it comes. So this intention is the one which makes your mind move. Because the mind physically cannot move, so it will dictate the body to move. Because the mind physically cannot move, but you have to reach to the cheesecake. So the mind will dictate the body to move towards the cheesecake. So the body action comes into play. Body actions, verbal actions, they all come into play because of the mental intention. You're getting it? So these are the 5 functions which accompanies any phenomena of mind, mental activity of mind. Okay, so there what happens is that, say, generally speaking, so what happens is all this intention, for example, like I have to jump into the fire. This is action, intention. Very fast intention, very spontaneous intention to jump. This intention was because, as Regina said, this intention was because in his or her mind, say very fast movement of the mind, okay, to jump and rescue, this should be done. pleasant feeling comes. Run away and let them die, very unpleasant feeling comes. Okay, what makes this pleasant feeling comes to think of jumping? What makes the pleasant feeling come? Then what Wang Dena said, sense consciousness. With the help of the sense consciousness, these people are dying, the house is on fire, these people are trapped in the fire. You're getting discrimination. This discrimination because the fire is on, the house is on fire, then you don't know what to do, and suddenly you hear some cries, right? Is this human being or what? Right? Are there really people inside? Then you're paying attention. Right? So this paying attention is preceded by your eye consciousness comes in contact with the house on fire. So come in contact. Eye consciousness come in contact with the house on fire. Then you pay attention to this, and then people are actually being in the fire. Say contact, attention, then discrimination. Yes, people are they in the fire. Then the very unpleasant feeling to see that they are there. So pleasant feeling arises from if you jump. So that feeling makes you to then have the intention to jump. So contact, attention, discrimination, feeling, intention. So in the Buddhist context, Buddhist psychology, so what is karma? Karma, finally, of the five, the fifth one in terms of how I enumerate. Fifth one, intention. This is the intention, is the karma. Intention is the karma. Karma is what? Action. Action is what? Movement. So intention is the one which moves the mind, And because moves the mind, and the mind, because it's not physical, it will dictate the body and the words, physical and the verbal, to move. Right? So the intention is manifested in the form of physical action and verbal actions. Likewise, mental actions. Okay, this is how it operates. So from this we see that jump, not jump is finally decided by the intention. And this intention is decided by the feeling. You're getting it? So what he said is that these people jump because of the pleasant feeling coming with the thought of jumping. And then, if not jump, then they will die. Unpleasant feeling comes. So, unpleasant feeling with the thought of running away. Pleasant feeling with the thought of jumping. So, jumping, not jumping, this is intention. I should jump, I should not jump, this is intention. So this intention makes the person to jump. So for some people, this intention makes the person to run away. Right? Okay, this is important. Now from this, okay, let's say, Pramanavartika is a very good book, it's an amazing book, right? Although I do not understand anything. Then I should study more. Okay, so after going back to my house in Malaysia, Singapore, or in Tibet, or America, or India, or India from me, right? Then the Australia, Singapore, wherever, right? Okay, I'll study. I must study. This is amazing. If I study, I'm sure I'll get something. I'll study this. And then what happens is that, okay, you have like 10-15 minutes free. Okay, I have to read it. I have to read the book. Where's the book? Oh, it's my bedroom. Okay, I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. So what is happening is that laziness means to think of going to get it, unpleasant feeling. Stay, not get it, okay, unpleasant feeling is not arising. You're getting it? Okay, so this you do it once, twice, thrice, then say the not wanting to go, because the unpleasant feeling arises the moment you think of going. So that feeling becomes more and more stabilized. More and more stabilized. This is known as what is that? Okay, addiction. This is known as addiction. then the mind becomes addicted because this feeling becomes stronger, 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 more habituated. It becomes set, it becomes addicted. As it becomes addicted terribly, undo that is very difficult. So how to do that? How to undo that is, okay, I want to read the book. Because why you are so excited to read the book? Because of the imprint being activated, imprint late when you are in Chensui temple. That this is a very important book, group discussion, look at the group discussion, it's amazing, everybody is, involved there, I should read this more. So this active imprint is there, that is activated very easily. Now what happens? Okay, but the book is in the bedroom, but the book is in the shelf, in the other room. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. So what happens is that you thought of seeing that unpleasant feeling. The thought of going there triggers the unpleasant feeling. Then this gives you the intention not to move. Now how should you undo that? Okay, first is unpleasant feeling. You try to override this unpleasant feeling by thinking of, okay, if this happens, if I build this habit, then I'm going to suffer in the long run, right? In the long run, my laziness will become worse, worse, worse. So think of the laziness become worse and worse, unpleasant feeling comes. Think of getting rid of the laziness, happiness comes. So this happiness will override the earlier laziness, and this will make you move. Then what happens? You do it once. Then next day again, I let you do it. Oh, again the book is there in the shelf. Never mind, I go there. You go there, what happens? It becomes easy. Easy meaning you become habituated to this action. So habituated meaning it becomes easy. Easy means ease. Ease means a pleasant feeling. To move there, unpleasant feeling is not coming. So this is how we undo the laziness. This is so important. Even though we think that, oh, this is a very small thing. No. Say for example, okay, sometimes I deliberately do that. Say, okay, let's say the door. My door is not, I come to sense, I just wonder if the latch is put on or not. I'm not too sure. Okay, I'm doing my prayers. Or I'm reading something. And then, okay, don't worry, in anyways, nobody will come. Then before go to bed, I will do it later. No. This is how the laziness builds up. Just to challenge this, I get up and latch the door. So this makes the habit of doing things right there, not they slip into laziness. So this is the habit that we have to build. Okay. So in other words, we are trying to rectify the feeling. So sit and not do. Okay, and think of doing it, unpleasant feeling comes. Then you don't want to do it. Intention not to do it happens. This is known as laziness. Then it becomes the what? Intense, or it becomes set. This is known as chronic laziness. Yeah, this is how we have to undo this. This is so important. Likewise, practice. Say meditation. Okay, after the practice, yes, every day we have been doing the Chensui temple. It's a wonderful practice morning. This I must continue every day. Okay, you do it one. Okay, yeah. Next day, and then you have some small works there. Oh, I have this very important. Actually, it's not really important. And then that's very important work there. I have to write a letter to somebody, or let's say I have to talk to somebody, make the other person happy. This is very important. It's not really important, but it makes your mind makes it very important because you want to skip this meditation. And then you skip, okay, no, it doesn't matter, I'll do it tonight. And tonight, okay, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow. Then this is how we delay things. We become more and more lax, and this is how the tendency for growing, finding joy in virtue. You're getting it? This is what we have to build. Okay. How, generally speaking, virtue is very difficult to do. Non-virtue is very easy to do. Right? Non-virtue, there's automatic fun is happening. Virtue, there's no fun happening. It's very boring. Virtue. So now what we have to do is that with the virtue, fun is happening, joy is happening. With non-virtue, unhappiness is happening. This is what we have to create. So how? Make the virtue easy. How to make it easy? How to make it easy? For example, if you know somebody, say for example, I know the, say, Cheng. And then say there are two persons. There are two persons, I know Cheng. And when, okay, terms. And then somebody totally new, I'm not too sure. So if I am to spend like 2 days together and the person gives me a choice, okay, with two of Cheng, you know, other person also very good as Mr. Cheng. So with whom you want to spend time or spend the 2 days? What will I say? With Mr. Cheng. Because I know him already. Because already I have built the ease. So with the other person, again, we have to build the ease from the beginning. This ease is there, unease is there, right? So this is, how come that I have this ease with Cheng Yap? Because I've been with him for so long without any complications. Likewise, say doing virtue, do it once is a little difficult, do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, then you get used to that. When you get used to that, it's very easy. How many feel so uneasy to go for breakfast? That's very easy. The morning we get up, we look forward to that breakfast, right? Oh, it's always have to do it. How many times I've done it for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years into 365. We never complain. It's automatic because there's ease there. But for a virtue meditation, 2 minutes meditation, even that you find is as though like, okay, as though like it's like 2 hours. So with the virtue, we find it so unease. With the non-virtue and neutral trivialities, there's ease there. So now we have to make the virtue ease. How? Through habituation. Through habituation, not giving in to laziness. Then laziness will overcome and you'll start feeling the joy over the. For example, practice of bodhicitta, practice of compassion, right? Before we actually feel, some form of universal compassion. Before you actually feel that, you do some compassion. It is not forcing yourself. It is not forcing yourself. Okay, we have to make some donation for the temple. Or, okay, we have Wei-Chen is asking, right? Asking that, okay, there's some poor person there. Do you have some donation for that person? Okay, to make him happy, yes. So there is unease there, right? So compassion is not flowing. Whereas you practice, and then if I do something, okay, I did it for him. As though like, I take the credit. I want the credit that some kind of appreciation, whatever. Because compassion means purely for others. No, that's not the case. So when you actually practice compassion, compassion is for myself. You could feel it. And then to feel compassion towards others, it's become so easy through practice. Through no practice you do, it's very difficult. If you spend the $1 or the 1 ringgit or 10 ringgits, it's very difficult. Let go of the 10 ringgits, it's very difficult. So it's a matter of habituation. With habituation, what happens? Ease is being built. So Bodhisattva Shantideva said that there's nothing that will not become easy through familiarization, right? So we have to familiarize. Initially, there is unease there. You familiarize, once you are familiarized, then the ease comes to you. What is ease? Ease means pleasant feeling. The pleasant feeling will make you work. And the pleasant feeling becomes very stable, grounded. You will not feel at all a burden to do some virtues, to do your practice and so forth. Okay. Okay, now this is one part. Number 2, what the answer is going to be given here, page 77. So when we speak about that, how the feelings play a very important role. Say, okay, so let's say that with eating food, what is said in the text, say with the nutritious food and so forth, then the food is the physical, food affects the physical body, and the physical body affects your emotional states. Say the attachment, anger, these things become more intense, more intense. So how, if the body is not the primary cause, how the body affects the mind? We see that. Say somebody who is very passive, always like sick, because of no good food. Once you start giving good food, good exercise, the person becomes very healthy, very active. Even the mind works faster, right? Positively. From negative side, even the attachment, anger, jealousy can become more intense, right? When the person is weak, the person does not have the interest to show anger, because does not have the energy to show anger or shout at the other person. When they eat good food, body gets good energy, then easily shout at the other person, right? So these things happen. So how the body affects the mind. So this is so obvious. Okay, how does Acharya Dharmakirti respond to these questions? So here, Acharya Dharmakirti, what he says is that it is not that you increase the body composition and the body composition increases the mental composition. No, it's not happening. You're getting it? We have to make the distinction between these two things. One, the body, for example, say you eat a better nutritious food, then hormones that is secreted in your body gets intensified, that's multiplied. What? Earlier the hormones may be less, now the hormones can become more, and then the feelings become more intense. This is one part. Number two is where, say, the mind is the same person. Earlier the person is not so active, now the person becomes active. In terms of the material, it's the same. It's the same person. It's the activity increases, but the material-wise, there's no increase. You're getting it? Material-wise, the body does not affect. Only the activity is the increased or diminished activity. Activity doesn't mean that the activity is fine. So in that way, in terms of the activity of the mind, the body can affect. But in terms of the material of the mind, it does not affect. So how does the activity affect it? For example, let's say somebody who is so weak, otherwise so dull, then with the good food, exercise, and so forth, then the person becomes very active. So it's activity. And the person's mind, even thinking, becomes quicker. It's again an activity. Activity of the mind. And the person may display more agitation, easily the short tempers. This is also the activity of the mind. Activity. So activity can be affected. How? So say with the good food, with the nutritious food, then what happens? The body compositions, like the three factors. What? Pitta? Vata, Pitta, Kapha. The three things, what are they in English? Wind, bile, water. These three components. Or today according to neuroscience. Okay. Say what happens when you eat the good food and so forth. Then what happens? The bodily constituencies, the cells, they become very fresh. They become well nourished. When they become well nourished, then the activity becomes very active. Then the production of insulin, production of the hormones like oxytocin and so forth, they become very active. And oxytocin, what is oxytocin? It's the hormone of happiness, right? So that is secreted. With this, the oxytocin, there are like three hormones, I think, three different hormones, one of which is oxytocin. So oxytocin is increased more because of the nutritious food. So oxytocin then flows in the body. So this is the hormone of happiness. So that oxytocin, according to Acharya Dharmakirti, so there what happens is that the oxytocin, it creates the tactility on your body. For example, say my hand, let's say my hand, you touch this with you touch your hand with say cotton, it's very soft. You touch with a very rough material, it's very hard, right? So these hormones, what happens is that they provide a very smooth, very tender tactility to the body inside. Not the outside body, inside, nervous system, inside. So where Where, because of it's very small, the tender, then the accompanying feeling is very pleasant. Accompanying feeling is not the hormones. Accompanying feeling is what you are feeling. What you're feeling. That is the mental consciousness. Mental consciousness. And then what is really happening there? Say, first, these hormones, they create a very tactile sensation within your body. The tactile sensation is what? Sensory consciousness or mental consciousness? Sensory consciousness. Sensory consciousness, you feel the smoothness. You feel the roughness. You feel the hot. You feel the cold. You feel too cold, again, is painful. Too hot is very painful. Or too hot, suddenly a very moderate temperature is very pleasant, right? So, with the moderate temperature, then you get on the mental level, you get the pleasant feeling. That is the sensory feeling. Feeling, there are two. Sensory feeling and the mental feeling. There are two. Because sense consciousness is there, mental consciousness is there. For all consciousnesses, there should be the 5 omnipresent mental factors. Feeling should be always there. Feeling is one of the 5 omnipresent mental factors, and these 5 omnipresent mental factors should be with the sensory consciousness as well as with the mental consciousness. So for the sensory consciousness also there's a feeling. Mental consciousness also there's a feeling. So the feeling is having, for example, say you're feeling very hot and you drink a cold water. It gives a very pleasant feeling. That pleasant feeling is sensory or physical, sensory or mental. Sensory feeling. It's not a mental consciousness feeling. Feeling associated with the sensory consciousness, not with the mental consciousness. Okay, now what happens is that with the sensory pleasant sensory feeling created because of the flow of these hormones. They give a very smooth, tactile sensation, and the very pleasant sensory feeling comes to you. So this pleasant sensory feelings of the sensory consciousness, of the body consciousness, that is the information passed to the mental consciousness. Then your mental consciousness feels happy. That is the feeling associated with the mental consciousness. First, the sensory consciousness, then transmitted to the past to mental consciousness. The mental consciousness feels the happiness or the ease or the pleasure. Okay, now, say for example, with the sensory, the pleasantness, if somebody is not into the meditation on impermanence, emptiness, suffering, so forth, not at all, just an ordinary person, the moment the sensory pleasant feeling arises, sensory pleasant sensation, meaning the sensory consciousness level, when that arises, then the information is passed to the mental consciousness. Mental consciousness will feel the ease there, automatically attachment arises. Then the unpleasant sensory consciousness, unpleasant feeling on the sensory level, for example, say very hot or cut like this, unpleasant, the pain on the physical sensory consciousness arises. That information is part of mental consciousness, and the mind feels the pain, then the agitation arises. Anger arises, agitation arises. So this is how the mental activity are determined by the various feelings, physical and mental. So whereas if somebody is into meditation on impermanence, deeply meditate impermanence, and having felt some experience, likewise suffering, likewise emptiness, so forth, then when the physical feeling of pleasant or unpleasant feeling arises, so this can go to this will be informed to this information will be transmitted to mental consciousness. But the mental consciousness, mentally, the pleasant feeling arises. Mentally, unpleasant feeling arises. Right? Okay. But because of these meditations, very strong, stable meditations, the reaction does not happen. Reaction to this feeling do not happen. Reaction to the pleasant feeling is attachment. Reaction to unpleasant feeling is aversion. This reaction do not happen because of the stable meditation. Otherwise, for everyone, when the pleasant feeling arises on the sensory level, it is automatically passed to the mental. Unpleasant feeling comes to your physical, it may or may not pass through the mental consciousness. It's very interesting. Do you understand? I'm saying this again. Pleasant feeling arises on your sensory level. It will be passed to the mental. Unpleasant feeling is sensed by the sensory level. It may not be passed to the mental. It may not be. In most cases it's passed, but it may not be passed. Which means that physical pain is there, mental pain is not there. Right? Now, for this information, sensory pain to be transmitted to the mental pain, it requires one factor. It requires one factor. That is self-grasping ignorance. If there's self-grasping ignorance, it is transmitted. If there's no self-grasping ignorance, then this information is not passed to the mental. You will not feel that. So arhats, this factor is missing. Self-grasping ignorance. They've already exterminated self-grasping ignorance. Because self-grasping ignorance missing, physically they feel the pain. Physical pain is there. But this physical pain is not transmitted into the mental for the mind to feel the pain. This is not happening. So the arhats, they don't have the mental pain. They only have the physical pain. Okay. Now let's read stanza 77, page 24, stanza 77. At times during increase and decrease in the strength of the body due to the physical food, the nutrition and so forth, the flaring of attachment and so forth, and happens due to feelings. Flaring of attachment is what? Okay, let's see. Attachment. What is attachment? The mind moving towards the pleasant things. This is attachment. The mind running away from the unpleasant thing is aversion. The mind moving towards the pleasant thing is attachment. The mind running away from the unpleasant thing is aversion. You're getting it? So, attachment aversion involves movement. Do you see this? Attachment aversion has the connotation of movement. Movement towards object, running away from the object. Movement. And movement is because of the intention. Okay. Intention. So now, attachment and aversion involves, we evidently see the involvement of the intention in the attachment and aversion. You getting it? Okay. So now this attachment aversion arises because of the feelings. When the pleasant feeling is there, then the intention works to move towards object. That is attachment. When the unpleasant feeling is there, intention works to move away from the object. That is aversion. And when it becomes very raw, it is anger. It is anger. And the other version of that is when it is too intense, it can be depression, anxiety, depression, lamentation, regret. Okay. So what it says here is that the flaring attachment, so flaring, increasing of attachment and so forth, happens due to pleasant and unpleasant feelings inside. These feelings in turn, how come these feelings arise? Because of the good food or the nutritious food, this body strength increases. Then how these feelings arise? These feelings in turn are determined by the internal object of the tactility. Good food, then the composition of the body becomes so well, then these increase the hormones so well, and the hormones are secreted, they flow, and the hormones, these specific hormones, not the stress hormones, happy hormones, they give rise to a very pleasant tactility there, and then this gives rise to the pleasant physical feelings, and this is transmitted to the mental. Then the intention works to move towards that. This is attachment. Okay. Likewise, If, say, because of nutritious food, then the body becomes the operation of the body mechanism inside, body cells, they work so well, and then so well to the extent that when somebody says, "You're a stupid guy," right? Instantly, the stress hormones they start to flow. Stress hormones flow. Whereas if your body is so weak, somebody says, "You're stupid," okay. Stress hormone doesn't flow. Stress hormone doesn't flow as much because there's no stress hormone there. It's not really interested because the food, you don't have the nutrition. So you say, okay. Whereas if you are so fit, fine, stress hormone all created them, you say, "You are a stupid guy there." Instead, "How dare you say this?" You become so active because stress hormones, they give very unpleasant tactility there on your body. So that unpleasant feeling is transmitted to the mental consciousness. And the mental consciousness, the intention works to attack, to run away. How to run away from this? How to run away from somebody saying bad things towards you? How to stop that person? If you don't have any practice of compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, empathy, and so forth, what's the best way? To attack. Stop, right? Mind your business. Stop what you're saying. Okay, this is the best way. This is the most efficient way. So therefore, this is how it happens. So activity, all these activities is happening on the mental consciousness. So this is determined by the food, body, food. So the body affects the mind. Yes, it affects the activity of the mind, not the substance of the mind. Substance of the mind is not at all affected. Right? Okay, say for example, if you want to, there's a very lazy dog there, how to make it work, how to make it run. Give some, delicious food, the favorite food, then it will work. It doesn't mean that this food will make the dog multiply in size. No, the body remains the same. Only the activity is increased, activity. Okay. And then, why this tactility? Why this tactility comes into being? Okay, so this flattering attachment is because of the pleasant feeling. Pleasant feeling is because of the tactile, the smooth, the tactile sensation coming. The smooth tactile sensation coming because of the balance of the three components. Why the balance of these three components? Because of the good nutritious food. This is how they are related. Okay, so it says, these feelings in turn are determined by the internal object of the tactility, which is given rise to by the balance of the elements and so forth. 78. This also explains the loss of memory and so forth. Now, the loss of memory. How the loss of memory happens? Okay, how many of you have the problem of the loss of memory? Resents. Okay, Moses. Alex, how come? You are just 16. Huh? Young person, how come that you have the loss of memory? Okay, raise your hands. I would like to see, including myself. You have lost memory. Oh, young ones. Zoe. Okay, Alex, you have lost memory. CJ? Okay. So everyone has a lost memory problem. Okay, let's see what's the answer. How to solve this problem? How many want to solve this problem? All right. Okay, let's see what is the. So if you know how that is happening, you can undo this. We can learn how to undo this, right? Okay, let's see. This also explains the loss of memory and so forth due to the illness of gathering and the like. Illness of gathering. This is just a label. The label, one kind of illness. One kind of illness is known as illness of gathering. Dubene. This is just a vocabulary. Illness of gathering is one kind of illness. So these illnesses are responsible for memory loss and so forth. So how that is happening? This also explains the loss of memory and so forth. Due to the illness of gathering and the like, the variations of the internal tactility give rise to the changes in the sensory consciousness. Okay. Say, the sensory consciousness, it is determined by the sense powers. Yes? Physical sense powers. And physical sense powers are heavily dependent on the sense organs. Yes? And the sense organs, how good your sense organs are, is determined by the blood flow in these sense. And the nutrition flow, the blood flow. The blood is the one which carries the nutrition there, right? So nutrition is dependent on what you eat and what you exercise, right? So we see that this is the link. What you eat is not proper nutrition with vitamin B12 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, right? And then you eat such food, and this is what is being carried to the sense organs. And the sense organs, they are deficient in these, on the brain, sense organs. Sense organs is multiple. Physical body, the physical is there with the brain spread over the body, and also the other the four senses there. And because of the sense organs, they are lacking these nutritions, this sense organ becomes inactive. Because the inactivity of the sense organs, sense powers, they cannot operate. Because sense powers, they are dependent on the sense organs. For example, like a person who is, a gymnastic, somebody who is what do you call it? Gymnast. What do you call that person? Gymnast. A world-renowned gymnast, if he's put in a very bulky spacesuit, right, he cannot perform his skills. Not because he lost his skill, because of the external factor which confines him into this bulky space. So this bulky spacesuit, this is the one which stops him or her from demonstrating the skills. It is not that he or she has lost the skill. Likewise, your sense power is intact, but the sense power, in order to display it fully, it depends on the external factor, which is the sense organ. When the sense organ is weak, sense power cannot perform as well. When the intake of food is so less, so poor, and so forth, then it affects your eyes. When it affects your eyes, you cannot see things clearly. You're getting it? You cannot see things clearly. Your mental consciousness is intact, object is intact, but you cannot see things clearly. Why not? Because the sense power is not operating so well. Why the sense power is not operating so well? Because sense organs are badly affected. Okay, so the memory, what happens, for example, the memory, those with the memory problem, right? If you want to have a cigarette, but I don't want to share the cigarette. How to retrieve the memory? Huh? Okay, some of you may be knowing that. There's one the plant known as ginkgo biloba or jingo biloba. What is that? Huh? Ginkgo biloba. Okay, there's a plant known as ginkgo biloba, and it has some chemical there. This chemical will increase the flow of the blood to your brain, where the memory is operating, right? And in some cases, it works magic. You won't believe. In some cases. But don't try this. What happened was that when I was in England, in those days I was in my 30s, early 30s. And my memory loss was terrible. Terrible, you wouldn't believe. Say, I know Sonam Lao for all these many years. I know Mr. Chung Lao for all these many years. Like I think 12, 13 years, 14 years, I know him. This memory in those days, when I was in my early 30s, the memory collapse was terrible. To the extent that I suddenly meet Mr. Chung, and I forgot the name. Who I have been with for the last 10, 15 years. Memory, the name slips from my mind, and it does not come. It doesn't come at all. With however much effort I put, it doesn't come. It's very embarrassing. Okay, so what happened was that when I was in Cambridge, one of my friends in America, he gave me a multivitamin. And I started to take this multivitamin when I was in England, not before that. Within 1 week's time, you won't believe the memory was so clear. Right? It made me so happy because I'm not a business person, right? My job is to say about the books, about Pramanavartika, what was said in the day, what is said in this book, and the thought processes. So thought processes, they are my most important thing for me. Thought processes. And the thought processes, if you don't, if you cannot retrieve the memories of the past, then what you're doing is not at all effective. Suddenly the memory becomes so clear. Not only that you remember what you did this morning, you could remember what you did 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, so vividly. I was so happy. What happened to me? I was so happy. Later I discovered that inside this multivitamin, there's the chemical ginkgo biloba. This is what I discovered. But nowadays, there's a separate supplements, just ginkgo biloba. I'm very hesitant to take this. Because to what extent, of course it contributes to the flow of the blood in the memory part of the brain responsible for the memory. But when you stop it, what could be the adverse effect, we don't know. So better, don't take it. Yeah. So let the memory grow on its own. What's the best way by which to let the memory grow on its own? Is try to, for example, say with things, the names and so forth, try to say it more often. That is very stable way of retrieving your memories. Say more often. Then it becomes a habit. The habit of your brain, habit of your mind. So this habit you will apply to everything else. So the memory with respect to everything else improves. So that natural process of retrieving memory, this is the safest. Okay. 79. It is like for some hearing and seeing tiger in blood causing loss of sense. For example, some people, they are so courageous, they see and they actually involved in the wars, fighting in the olden times. Still they are very stable, they focus. But some people, they see, they fight, and then because of somebody, there's a cut in the blood flows, the person easily, the lost sense or faint. And some people, let's say that you see the tiger, right, jump towards the tiger, right, rather than sensibly running away. So you lost the sense. Why you lost the sense? So this is a physical object that affects your sensory consciousness. Then that affects your mental consciousness. So the body affecting the mind. But Acharya Dharmakirti is saying that these things happen. What is happening is that these things, they affect the sense consciousness. Then sense consciousness, the feeling, with the sense consciousness is there's a tiger there. So this information is part to the mental. Mental, contact, attention, discrimination. What discrimination? There's a tiger there, right? And what's next? There's a tiger there. Discrimination, what is next? The feeling. There's a tiger there, and the feeling, what kind of feelings retrieved from the past? It depends on your past experience. The past experience. In the past, you have the memory. Tiger is very dangerous. Very dangerous means it can kill me. Kill me means a very unpleasant feeling. Unpleasant feeling is retrieved. With this unpleasant feeling retrieved, then your mind, when the unpleasant feeling is bearable, you have a sense, you will run away. When the unpleasant feeling is unbearable, then your mind becomes disoriented. Then it can jump towards the tiger. Okay. 79. It is like for some hearing and seeing, tiger in blood causing loss of sense. It is not due to the body, but due to the inner feelings. Right? Due to inner feelings. Inner feelings because of the discrimination. It's purely cognitive. It has nothing to do with the material, the material of the mind. It's purely cognitive, just the activity of the mind. Activity of the mind. Discrimination means activity of the mind. There's a tiger there. There's just activity, not the material of the mind. So it affects the activity, and the activity retrieves the various feelings. These feelings then determine the overall activity. What you do, jump, become the unbearable, whatever, is determined by the feelings. Stanza 80. Since the mind is purely, now is more like a summary here. Since the mind, from this what we've learned thus far, since the mind is purely, in terms of the material of the mind, since the mind is purely determined by the actions of the earlier minds, activities of earlier, meaning that earlier minds gives rise to the next moment of the mind. This is what we can see, right? This is what happens. These subsequent minds cannot arise without the previous moments of the mind. So, activity-wise, fine. So, say the mind moves towards the object, runs away from the object. These are all the activities. It's not the material. In terms of material, it comes from the previous mind. Without the previous mind there, the next moment of the mind is not possible. Therefore, the mind is dependent on the preceding minds and not the body. In terms of the material of in terms of substantial cause, in terms of material of the material meaning the substantial cause. Next, reference number 15. Third, rejecting the mind to be dependent on the body. Okay. How many days we have? 2 more days. Tomorrow full day and day after full day. Okay, 2 full days. Okay. The reference number 50. Rejecting the mind to be dependent on the body on the ground that it is of the nature of the body. So now this is a very typical view of the Charvakas who don't believe in rebirth. So they say that the mind is nothing but the nature of the body. It's just the body. It's just the body. From there the mind comes out in the form of, say, its own nature. Now, 81. Just as by dependence on the mind, processes such as learning are seen in the subsequent moments of the mind over time. Okay, you put effort to study Pramanavartika once, twice, 3 times. Then after the same, okay, let's study this, listen to the recordings, right, for 2 or 3 times. And then afterwards, somebody teaches that and all others are lost, and you could follow very easily. Which means that growth has taken place in you. Later moments, there's growth taking place in your mind, later moments of the mind, because of the training in the earlier moments of the mind. So it says, just as by dependence on the earlier moments of the mind, processes such as learning are seen in the subsequent moments of the mind over time. Do you understand it? Good. The same qualities as learning should happen to the body if the body and the mind, these two are the same nature. If the body and the mind, these two are the same nature, then just as the learning takes place in the mind subsequently, the subsequent body should also be learning all these things. As you accept it to be not different from the mind, as you accept the body not to be different from the mind. Reference number 51. For explaining the causes for the ordinary beings to connect to their next birth. Okay, earlier, what we said, that last moment of the dying person's mind, opponent said what? Opponent said that this will not connect to the next mind because it is a dying person's mind, last moment of the mind. Right? Now Acharya Dharmakirti says that no. What factor forbids this mind to connect to the next birth? This is what he asked. You remember that? So the opponent said that last moment of the dying person's mind, ordinary person, not arhats, ordinary person, last moment of the dying person's mind will not connect to the next mind, because it is the last moment of the mind or the dying person's mind. Acharya Dharmakirti asks, so this last moment of the dying person's mind, what factor is missing there for this mind to connect to the next moment of the mind? What factor is missing? This is a question asked by Acharya Dharmakirti. Now Acharya Dharmakirti has to give the answer. Yes, it will connect to the next birth. There is a factor there. The factor to connect the mind to the next birth. Ordinary beings, when they die, this is not the annihilation. It will connect to the next birth. What factors are there to connect this last moment of the dying person's mind to the next birth? What factors are there? Reference number 51. Fourth, explaining the causes for the ordinary beings to connect to the next birth. Okay, 82. Since beings are endowed with attachment to the self, without others driving them, they appropriate inferior birth due to desire for achieving happiness and eschewing or avoiding or shunning miseries. So, ordinary beings, why the last moment of the dying person's mind connects to the next mind, which is the mind of the next birth, is because of the afflictive emotions, attachment to happiness and aversion to miseries. Attachment and aversion, these two are responsible for the ordinary person's last moment of the dying mind to connect to the next mind. Okay, so then the question is asked, this is a very good question. If the ordinary person's mind connect, for example, say, okay, let's say, okay, say, okay, say, oh yeah, I shouldn't give the example of cheesecake. Or, okay, let's say, right? Let's say that somebody is so habituated and accustomed and used to eating rice. Eating rice, I'm not. Okay, eating rice. And then once in a while, take noodles or flour is fine. But the rice is the main. In fact, there are people like this. Some people say that if I don't eat rice, no matter how much food I eat, I don't get the feeling that I've eaten something. Do you know such people? They are like this. They are. Likewise, non-vegetarian. Right? If I don't eat meat, I don't get the feeling that I ate the food. If I don't eat the rice, then I don't get the feeling that I've had my lunch or dinner. Okay, so this is one person. Another person, okay, rice is fine, no rice is fine. Okay, if these are the two persons, person A and B, A so used to rice, B not so about rice. If these two people are in, okay, chances you have rice, right? Okay, if these two persons are in one place where they don't get any rice, then after a while, they go to another place where there's one shop or one restaurant where there is rice, or rest of the shop there's no rice. Just tell me, which of the two persons, there's a greater likelihood that which of two persons will find the rice shop with the rice? Huh? A, why A? Huh? Huh? No. Because of the desire. So this desire takes a person through the shop with the restaurant with the rice. Right? So this is how the desire connects. Right? This is how the desire connects and how the aversion connects to the opposite. This is how these two work. Okay, so now the point is that, okay, so the question, again, Acharya Dharmakirti, he's bringing up the complication. Complication brought is that if the desire is the one which connects us to the next birth, everybody desires for happiness. Nobody desires hell realm. So why people are connected to hell? Why are people connected to the suffering? We don't desire suffering. We desire only happiness. Why that connected to the suffering state? Wow, this is amazing. What answer do we have? Hey, anybody? Huh?
Seeing suffering as happiness.
Exactly. So, Acharya Dharmakirti, the answer that he gave is that, okay, why take inferior birth if they seek happiness? 83. The beings are shackled or ensnared or entangled due to the misperception of misery as happiness. Misperception, misery as happiness, and because of which they feel attached to actually the misery which they think is happiness. Those who are freed of these factors meaning attachment and aversion, will not be born in samsara at all. Okay, Okay, we'll continue. This is very quick. This is easy. Then the Charvakas, what they say is that, but if there is now, Charvakas, they come with the conclusion, all these debates are more into very technical, logical debates. Now Charvaka, they come up with a very solid debate. They say that if there is a reincarnation of mind, the beings taking rebirth like this, if there's rebirth, we should be able to see that. Nobody has seen rebirth. Nobody has seen rebirth. So how can you say that there's rebirth? But finally, they boldly say this. The what? Charvakas. 84. If you say, but the migrating here and there, meaning beings migrating from one life to the other, of the beings is not seen. Nobody has seen that. Acharya Dharmakirti is responding, it is due to lack of clarity of your senses that they are not seen. It is like the eyes, when devoid of clarity, cannot see the subtle smoke. If in this hall, there's a very subtle smoke, the fume. So now we don't burn the candles here. Otherwise, if you burn the candles, there's a fume spreading. But our eyes cannot see that. Simply because our eyes cannot see the fumes doesn't mean the fume is non-existent. It doesn't mean that. It's so subtle that our eyes cannot see that. So finally, to say that I'm seeing and not seeing, we have to depend on our senses. And our senses are so limited. 85. Then again they come up with the debate. Okay, if there is the rebirth, which means that there are many beings, like the intermediate beings, pardo. Intermediate beings. What is intermediate beings? Huh? What is intermediate beings? Huh? So somebody dies here, and then in Malaysia, and is to take birth in Singapore, or dies in Singapore, takes birth in Malaysia, it doesn't matter, right? Then, so from here, the body is left. The mind has to travel to Singapore. The mind has to travel. So in between, what is that? The birth takes place in Singapore, but this mind has to travel. So between the death and the birth, there's the intermediate, there's the time in between. So what travels? That is the pardo. The mind travels. So this state is known as intermediate state. And intermediate beings also have physical body. What is that physical body? This is known as mental body. It's not the gross physical body. It's a mental body. Now the Charvakas, they said that, so if these intermediate bodies, intermediate beings are there, multiple around us, so these intermediate beings, and you may collapse, you may what? Hit each other, right? Hit each other, you could feel it, but nobody feels that, right? So how can you say that? So even once it happens is fine, but it never happened even once. So how can you say that these intermediate beings are there? 85. Despite being with body, intermediate beings with the body, due to the subtlety of the intermediate beings, subtlety of the body of the intermediate beings, some at times can move unobstructed by other objects. Their body is so subtle that they can pass through the walls, pass through the mountains, so forth, without any obstruction. It is like, then the Acharya Dharmakirti gives the example, it is like water seeping through the clay pot. Clay pot is a solid thing. If the water is put in, right, water should be held by the clay pot. No, the water seeps. And in the mercury comes in contact with the gold, what happens? Mercury comes in contact with the gold, what happens? Mercury sits on the gold? No, instantly reacts instantly. This was for the first time I saw when I was, I think, age 13 or 14 in school. Our biology teacher, she has a gold ring. And then somehow while we are doing that, we were in the laboratory. We are doing some experiment with mercury. And she was handling all these things because she's a teacher, students cannot handle these things. And she has the gold ring. And the mercury came in contact with the gold ring. Instantly the gold ring changed. Instantly the gold ring reacted. So likewise, Acharya Dharmakirti is saying, just as the mercury reacts with gold instantly, likewise, the mind of the intermediate beings, they can pass through without any obstruction, pass through instantly, pass through what we see as a mountain, the walls, and so forth. Okay. Yes, okay. Page 26. Some at times, the first line, some at times can move unobstructed. Some of these, the intermediate beings, at times can move unobstructed by other objects like the mountains and so forth. It is like water seeping through the clay pot and mercury through gold. Therefore, not seen by Charvaka, cannot rule out the existence of rebirth. Okay, we'll stop here.